Let's talk about the modeling gig.
Yes,
Okay.
I loved it. You looked stunning, but I don't know
Thank
any
you.
of the backstory. I don't know. Is this a friend that was a designer, or how did you get roped into this? Like, was the deal?
Through everything that happens nowadays is through Instagram, just
Okay.
connected through like social media. And she's pretty into the body positivity movement. And she, like many others in the space, are like, it's time to see a different breed of women, especially in high fashion and on the runway. It's been great. The whole body positivity movement. We have a stereotypical like model look. It's still there. It's still very prevalent, especially when you get up into the higher fashion world. But we have the plus size. But we've really missed the mark on allowing really healthy and fit women into a space that is so widely seen by women and just society in general. You have all these like high fashion pages and shows and brands, and it's one or the other nowadays. You have model-esque or like stereotypical model-esque and plus size. Like you really just do not have strong women. And so we're still missing the mark of giving young women role models unless they're in like a fitness society already or their parents do CrossFit. A high school girl is not going to just come across a CrossFitter's page. It's pretty difficult. There are millions of women out there who would never stumble across my page. But if I put myself into bigger and broader areas, then possibly someone finds me that needed a role model that is like healthy. So we just connected on that and said, yes, it's time for a change. And I'm hoping that this kind of just starts like a little wave. Hopefully I'm going to also be in New York in September for the New York Fashion Week.
Yeah.
So same brand. So I'll be out there with her. And I'm just hoping just you get in front of the right people and we can start like making waves and really changing things, which is what I really have set out on this whole Girls Sweet mission thing. So I just want to continue that. And I said like, my goal was to be bigger than CrossFit. And so this year I really took the opportunity to get outside of CrossFit. And it's just, it seems to be working out.
How is that initiative going? Like what other vibes have you put out into the world?
It's kind of like we're really focusing on things that just have nothing to do with CrossFit. So the fashion shows, we've reached out to media sources and magazines that probably don't even know what CrossFit is. And we're just trying to find spaces where there's no crossover. So it's a whole new audience. And like, that's what we're focusing on right now is just to get a bigger reach. So when more stuff comes down and we start trickling down the pipeline of my ideas and things that I want to do, it's not just like this CrossFit base. So that's been the big thing this year. It's just getting in front of more women, just like more eyes on me so I can inspire more than just like a CrossFit community. Because I'll admit like my CrossFit fan base is large and I love them. And I'm not trying to dive away from CrossFit. I'm just trying to expand.
CrossFit.
Let's do it.
I love that. I love it. You're not done with CrossFit though. You're still competing.
Yeah. I still want to compete. I'm really excited I like some of the changes that are going on outside of the CrossFit circuit, like not the CrossFit season circuit. So like the Wadapalooza now has 2 competitions. I love that they've expanded that. And I just feel like there's changes coming and that's nice. I'm hoping for some change because what's happening in like the actual CrossFit space right now, I haven't been like a huge fan of. So I like what is coming down the pipeline of some of these other organizations. So I'm not done with CrossFit by any means, but excited for the things that are not so tied with the actual like CrossFit brand.
So do you see yourself doing more of these individual comps like Waza and Rogue and I don't know, whatever else maybe you're referring to or?
Yeah, I've always enjoyed like the out of season competitions, the Wadapalooza, the Rogue, Dubai. So I definitely want to do those where scheduling allows. Rogue, unfortunately, is one of those where you have to be invited from the games. I might play around the qualifier. I haven't decided yet. So stay tuned for that. But other than that, I will continue to compete. And it's not like I'm not signing up for the Open next year. I'll do it.
I'll do it.
At the end of the day, we are quite a cult. So I have sliced my hand into the chalice. I'm part of it. Yeah.
Will you try any other sports? Like strongman as an example?
No. No.
That's my shit right here. That's it. That's all there is to it.
I got into CrossFit because I actually really enjoyed CrossFit. I enjoyed what CrossFit was about and the events that we did and the message that it sent. I think it's changed a little bit, but I still, at its roots, enjoy CrossFit. I understand that I'm a very strong athlete, but the powerlifting space and the strong lifting space, it isn't for me. Like, I did Olympic weightlifting meets. Like, I did two. And I didn't like sitting around. I don't like in the training for me, it's a little boring for me. I know that some people eat it up, but I don't like I just don't like to be sitting like that much. And so I just wouldn't enjoy it. I probably would be very good at it, but I just would not enjoy it. And I'm at a spot where I'm going to have fun. I want to still do the CrossFit, but I want to take the time not to go learn another sport like powerlifting. I just want to go and explore the world and hike and do, what CrossFit set out to do, just to be able to go play outside and try new things. So that's what I'm focusing on in terms of athletics.
What would you like to see them do differently for the athletes?
I'd like to have it just become a real sport. I want to see pro cards. I want to see more than just like this one series of competition. I don't want to see open quarterfinals, semifinals, games. I want to see, sure, all of that, but I want to see all these sanctioned events again. I want to see a triple crown type of deal. I want people just not to have to there are so many athletes who our season just ended and it just gets cut out from under you. I mean, you don't see an injury taking out like an NFL player's entire season, unless it's I get it, a very life-changing, altering injury. They a great example is Travis Mayer. He had an injury that just came at the wrong time, but he could have been ready to compete at games, but just because he couldn't compete in the worldwide open, he didn't get to go to games. I don't agree with the structure, and I think it's backtracking. And again, it was I think it was made for financial reasons, and unless someone wants to come and back the CrossFit space and actually financially put money where their mouth is and turn this into a real sport, it's just going to keep declining. And I wouldn't be surprised if the games struggled to happen in 5 years. Because people go because of the athletes. But if you keep taking away opportunities and media exposure for the athletes, no one's going to care anymore. Right. And so it's a double-edged sword. They keep trying to I think save money in ways that kind of screws over the athletes. But then the athletes get screwed over and don't get enough media exposure, don't get to compete as much, don't get to be out there. And it's just this vicious cycle. And I just feel like it's been on a downward spiral for several years now.
I've never thought about it from that perspective, because I've always liked the fact that we started with a worldwide open, because it really feels like the roots are in the community, which is what makes us stand apart from other sports. But I do still want CrossFit to become more professionalized and give more opportunities to the elite athletes, and in turn give more opportunities for us as spectators to follow along with all the action. So I feel like developing some sort of, system or way to get to the games that maybe the open to quarterfinals, semifinals, whatever, is one track, but then maybe there's another series of live competitions or something along those lines where you can still qualify. I don't know. I've never thought about it before. I've always been a fan of the open for what it signifies and for the roots of CrossFit, but I can fully understand and appreciate how the timing of it might just totally ruin your entire season.
And it's not something that you want to wipe out, but it's a situation where you have athletes that you follow and you aspire to be like. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that people don't see professional athletes and say, I want to do this because of that person. Kids have posters of Serena Williams and Michael Jordan and all these great athletes, and they saw these athletes and said, I want to do this because of them. It's an easy connection to make. The professional side of every single sport brings in people, and it creates a community around people who are fans of a sport. CrossFit's the same way. But it would be in tennis, you want to see some of your favorite athletes. Like when we were watching Serena, we wanted to see her go to all these tournaments. But it would be she shows up and something happens or she doesn't do well, and then you just don't see her again for an entire year or something. You want to continue to support them. And we do have these other competitions, but I'm not going to sit here and say that the media coverage is as good or there's like as many opportunities. And if we had different tracks where it was the CrossFit Games and something like Wadapalooza and something like Rogue were all as big of a deal as the CrossFit Games, it just brings more exposure. It brings more awareness. But there hasn't, since I've entered the CrossFit space, a season has not been the same once.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy. Since I've entered the space in 2016 and then like 17, 18, 19, 20 was weird because of COVID and whatever. But then 2021, like everything, it's changed like every single time. And it's just like all these years. And so I'm sure if like investors are looking at the sport of CrossFit, they're like, I don't want to touch this. And so there's so much stuff that just needs to be ironed out first. But again, it's just one of those things where more exposure just brings more exposure. People want to see their athletes, like their favorite athletes, compete. And us as athletes, like we want more opportunities to compete on bigger stages than just like this one stage that, I don't know, just it gets changed every single year. We don't know who's programming. We don't know who's in charge. And then next year we're like, well, we don't even know we thought it was in Madison. Now we thought it was in Birmingham. Now we don't even know where it is. And it's just like, it's just like this big toss up. And we just like, there's no structure. It's just like this kind of crazy show half the time, which makes it a little interesting and makes it fun. Sure. But there just needs to be better structure and more opportunities for the athletes. The community stays. Just because you decide to double down and make sure that the professional side thrives doesn't mean that the community falls apart. It's like they're scared that if they actually invest in the professional side, that like all the affiliates are just going to be like, oh, no, we're out. Like it's like sticks around. It's just like kind of mind boggling to me. I actually can't understand why it hasn't changed or why the professional side hasn't been a bigger concern. Again, I'm not in headquarters. I don't see logistics. I don't see finances. I don't see any of this.
April Carlson came in the comments, said, are you happy with the work that PFAA is doing? Which is kind of to your point, like that's typically like an athletes union would be the group that's doing what you're describing, which is communicating to the event organizers and then communicate back to the athletes. Are you happy with what they're doing? Are you part of that group at all?
I am. I go to their meetings. Like I'll be at their meeting that they're having at games after everything is done, like on Monday. I think Brent and Pat, those are the two that I've really had a lot of interactions with. To clarify, Brent Fikowski and Patrick Bellner.
What? Who?
What?
Someone's over here like, who? Yeah. Like, I always forget. Sometimes I need to say like last names. But anyway, so those are the two that I've communicated most with and heard from the most. I know that there's other members, but I think that they work tirelessly to make changes into a sport that blocks them all the time. And they definitely don't get the recognition that they deserve. There are things that happen all the time that media channels say, look what CrossFit has done. Look at these changes. And I personally know that Brent and Pat are sitting there, okay, well, we spent 6 months arguing with you guys to make these changes and they don't even recognize that it was because of them. And so they have a very thankless job. And I think they are doing amazing work. It's kind of like a presidency. There's only so much they can do if Congress doesn't say yes. So it's like, they can fight all they want, but until CrossFit gives the green light, what are they going to do? But I think that the work that they are doing and trying to do is very admirable. Definitely a big supporter of it. My only thing is they do try. This is why I can't be on it, because they want to keep the peace, where I would just come in and be like, well, this sucks.
I'm about to
Which is why I'm not part of it.
Of.
They're very good at what they're doing. And I think that they do a lot of good for the space and for the professional side, while still trying to maintain like a voice for the community. And again, I think they don't get enough recognition for all the work that they've done. Like even when it comes to just sitting and writing these emails and documents to CrossFit, they spend hours of their time doing this stuff and then it just never gets recognized. So right. I'm here recognizing them and all the stuff that they do. But again, like I said, there's only so much they can do. It's not like they just get green lights all the time. They got to fight tooth and nail for every single thing that they accomplish.
If I were going to critique them, it's that they don't toot their own horn enough. I
Yeah,
messaged,
and they admit that.
yeah, well,
They're too nice.
yeah, I messaged them not that long ago. They posted a video and it was great, and so I just shot them a message, "Hey, this is really good. After the games, I'd like to connect and learn more about what you guys are doing because I honestly don't know. Like I'm to your point, I don't see the changes they're making. And it's not to say they're not trying to make changes. I just haven't seen them because they're not advertising them, and CrossFit's not going to shout it out. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try to get more involved and learn what they're doing. So maybe we can help at least talk about the issues that are important to athletes. You know?
Yeah. It's just like one of those things where they're doing so much work that they also can't sit around and make sure that everyone on social media understands like what they're doing. They can't hire a social media person. And I don't know, after the whole debacle in 2020 where there was talks of the athletes separating from CrossFit and all this kind of stuff, a lot of athletes like showed that they are going to be called CrossFit Games athletes no matter what. And so like before breaking away from the sport, and it's became a very almost selfish thing. And so even if the PFA was like, okay, well, every single athlete who signs up for the Open just contribute $5 a month to the PFAA so we can like hire people and we can actually try to make some changes on this organization's end, you'd probably be shocked at how many people are like, well, I have no interest in this, even though it's for their benefit. So it's the same thing. It's like until the athletes actually decide and like everybody else decides that they actually want changes to be made or they actually want to help the changes be made, there's only so much that they can do. It's a very small organization that is doing like the best that they can. And so they're actually in it to make changes and they're not in it to make sure everyone knows that they're doing the work or else they would just be all over social media. But people like Brett and Pat are actually there to actually make real change, not give themselves clout because they're making a change.
All right. Well, I'm not reading their names because that's how I roll. All right, here's one.
Mm-hmm.
Women on steroids, lovely. That's probably the Tony wrote it as well. And he's the dude. How often do you get that? The steroid comment? Often? All the time?
All the time. But it's always from men and it's always from like obviously uneducated men because I'm like sorry to disappoint everyone. Like I just have really good genetics. I'm just strong. I do not have the body composition that would fit the bill for steroids. I got way too much cellulite on this body to like, so it's like one of those things. And I don't even see like, that's how uneducated I am about it. Cause like, I'm sure there are things out there that actually don't change your body composition, or maybe I am correct. See, I don't even know. But the steroid thing just comes and it's always like, that's just like, that's old news at this point. Like I was getting steroid comments before. It was my second day at CrossFit. And I was like, look at me, I've started CrossFit. And I had a steroid comment. And I was like, what? That's like old news, the whole steroid thing. But
when somebody gets popped and they do we had one a week ago and they give the stereotypical, I can't believe this happened. Everyone knows me knows I would never do this. Do you roll your eyes or do you give them the benefit of the doubt?
I kind of like just don't even have a reaction to it anymore besides being like dang, like it's just more fuel to the fire for CrossFit just to be under constant. We get such a bad rep and it's like no wonder we get such a bad rep. Yeah, we've got some athletes with truly one of a kind amazing body compositions out there, and I do believe a lot of it is from hard work. And then you have people that just go out there and ruin it for everybody. And I'm no longer in the mindset where I think like, oh, maybe like when we first started off and everyone was like, oh my God, everyone's like getting popped. But it's like, people are smart. They know, like, you just do not ingest anything that isn't tested for banned substances, that isn't on the approved list. Like, they make it so easy in CrossFit as well. You can just email and be like, am I good to take this? You can send a picture of a medication. You can just do anything. Just a quick email and be like, am I good to do this? And they'll be like, yes or no. Very quick, super easy, super painless. And the weird stories where they're like, I just had a protein shake at a friend's house, or I ate tainted meat. It's just like one of those things where it's like, how many, like, really, out of every single person that's gotten popped, everyone's, oh no, not me. It's like,
right.
like I want someone just to be like, yeah,
Yeah.
You got me. Like, I just
Yeah.
want someone to be like, yep, like it happened kind of thing. Cause I'd have more respect for that person. Like,
we had one a couple weeks ago. One of the teams, the guy was like, "Yeah, I thought I cycled off quick enough." I'm like, "Thank you, finally."
see, at least you're honest.
Yeah, he absolutely said, "I
didn't
thought
see
I came off soon enough." I'm like,
Yep.
"Thank God, finally."
But that's the thing. At least the honesty is like, okay, well, like he's being honest about it. But this whole weird thing about everyone just being like, no, like I just didn't even know that I was taking it. It puts doubt on every athlete because it's like, okay, well, who everyone's lying. Is everyone on it? And it's also one of those things where I don't actually think the drug testing policy, like within CrossFit, is harsh enough. We get plenty of warning. We get like full 24 hours before people show up at our house for like tests. As much as like people want to talk to me about how concerned they are that I'm on steroids, like I've never actually gotten like my blood drawn for, I've only ever had to like pee in a cup or whatever. I actually didn't know that people had their blood drawn, like tests and everything. I didn't even realize that until I actually just talked to an athlete. And so I don't know. I actually am at this point where I'm sure there's a lot of people doing stuff and like they're not getting caught for it.
Right.
So that's unfortunately my opinion on things at this point.
They're going to draw your blood now, Dani, and they're going to be like, "Yep, 98% chocolate chip cookie."
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And then that other 2% is just coffee. And they're like, we actually have no idea how she's alive.